Last year, I was on a vacation with the family, and we decided that we wanted to rent a car. It was through an app called Turo, and it's peer-to-peer sharing of vehicles. Save some fees, pretty simple. Never thought that it would be run by a farmer, or at least one operation is in Iowa. A farmer has many side jobs, not just this one in particular, but we all know how farmers have many different things. It might be selling insurance or seed or working at a dealership. This one, Brian Strasser from Homestead, Iowa, he operates basically a Turo franchise. It's not a franchise, but it is. He's got 6 cars for rent out of the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. So we're going to find out who his clients are, the conversations he has with them, how this all works, and how he balances it, the side job, with the agriculture job. That's today's MTOM podcast. I'm Paul Yeager. New episodes come out each and every Tuesday. A reminder to get signed up, subscribe, like, share. We love it when you tell a friend that you listen to this podcast and say, hey, you might like it as well. I hope you like this interview with Brian. All right, Brian, it's a nice cloudy day. Did you get any rain overnight?
Yeah, we did. We've gotten 3 inches in the last 12 hours. So the creeks are full and the banks are completely full and even running a little bit over. So,
Were you in need of a rain?
Yeah, before the weekend, we were in need of some moisture. Definitely so. It was definitely affecting the sandier hills and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So tell me about the farm that you have.
So I farm about 850 acres, and I actually live on the original farmstead for my mother's side, and I bought that house and everything, and I've got a hog finishing facility on there as well, and then with that, so then I've actually always had a job until the last year, and so then I've done other things to facilitate that. Yep.
Well, we'll get into the side thing in a minute, because I want to just kind of set up a little bit about your farm operation. So corn and beans, and then you said hogs.
Yes.
Those the big 3.
Yeah.
850 acres used to be a thing that could make it. What is it? Tell me what your current situation is about 850. Are you working to fill, or are you working because you just like to work?
I work it. That's a lot of farmers like to work, right? So, but yeah, no, I like to, the 850 I just got all accumulated finally this year. And I actually partner with another farmer. So he and I work together. I run a lot of his equipment, and, and then I take a lot of the, other stuff. So I have a technology background, was a computer programmer, and then also, just that all kind of melded well with me. So I was actually a John Deere dealership employee for, on the tech side for 17 years. And then that's actually one of my businesses that I do is Farm Tech Hive. So I actually, with local growers, I still to this day get paid to support them and make sure that their John Deere equipment works on a basis that they are comfortable with. So, yeah.
And technology-wise, you felt comfortable enough when you saw that this invitation came in through this program. You're like, oh yeah, I've known that. So you've done some podcasting before?
Yeah. So I worked for Advanced Agrilytics, and we had a podcast with Advanced Agrilytics that I was a part of. I actually was the producer for it, and then we had other guys that were on the screen and stuff like that. So yeah.
Did you make people go sit in their car to talk every once in a while?
Well, most of our guys were out in the field, so yeah, they were sat in the car quite a bit. So yes.
That is often how I pitch it to people. I'm like, you know what? You can take this app anywhere. You can be out in the farm field if you need to, and you can do it on the tractor, and that's fine with me. In fact, I almost prefer it if you can.
Yeah, because it gives you that different background, right? It's not something you have to make up or anything like that. So it works out well. So, the technology and the phones and the connectivity that we have these days is actually quite well. So.
But the reason you are in a vehicle right now is why we're talking. So you are in a car that's yours?
Yes. Yep.
And you have many cars. Tell me why you have many cars.
I actually have a Turo business, so I'm actually a host on the platform Turo, car sharing peer-to-peer platform, and I utilize that. We've got 6 vehicles on there, and so we utilize that to supplement our income and my income from farming and things like that, and it really works good and melds well. So yeah.
So the Turo app is, you said, peer to peer. So I have an app, I have gone shopping, or I've gone traveling, and just like shopping for something on my phone, I'm shopping for a car. Tell me how Turo works.
Yeah, it actually works quite well. And one of the advantages to Turo is you actually look through a whole list of cars and you actually pick the car that you are most comfortable in driving, right? So there's no surprises and you actually pick that up. And like I personally, you could deliver to like Eastern Iowa Airport or Metro Cedar Rapids or Iowa City in those multiple places. But yeah, I could deliver it there. You could go pick it up if you're a local person or if you're flying in, you pick it up right in the thing and we actually pay for your parking when you fly in, so you don't have any like confusion, and it actually gives you like a lock box that we put on the window so that you can pick up your key, and it's contactless and works out really well. Customers love it because they just walk out the door, they don't have to wait in line or anything, and they're in their vehicle off in 5 minutes. So
And it sounds a lot like a car rental, but it is different because
it
you
is
are not
certainly
Avis.
different. Right, very much so. Yeah, it's definitely peer to peer, and the reason for that is it actually, allows Turo to do what they're good at. It allows guests to be covered, and then allows us to really take that customer service to that next level. So it's actually my business, right? So people love working with business owners, and as a farmer and former sales guy, like I always loved working with the owner of the business. So yeah.
Well, okay, so Homestead, Iowa is what your address is. So those outside of Iowa, it's between Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, west of there a little bit. That doesn't, I mean, yes, Cedar Rapids and Iowa City metros, but you are still in the country. How does this work where, yes, you said you're close to the airport, but do you get a lot of business from somebody going from farm to farm?
Not necessarily farm to farm. No, I don't really get a lot of business there, but it's all about contacts, right? And it's all about relationships that you build. And, so I actually have quite a few local people that do actually rent from us. We rent at our local spot is like the exit 225 on I-80. That's where we put a vehicle if somebody wants to rent it locally. But then like I actually have a lot of people that come in and out of Cedar Rapids for business purposes. So we actually get a really great relationship. I've had 4 or 5 guys that have rented my rented my vehicles, every other week or even every week, coming in for business stuff. I had one customer one time who was putting in fiber lines up there in the Waterloo area, right? And every week he'd rent my truck and go up there, and it worked out really, really well.
And the reason yes, we talked about your technology background, but why this specific side job for you?
I think that Turo works really well with like my farming operation because, when the cash flow is low in farming during the summer and stuff, Turo really, that's our peak business time, right? So what we're allowed to do is, deliver those vehicles, and it's actually during the summer that we have the most amount of business. And so then like during the summer on the farming operation, the cash flow tends to be a little light, right? So typically for me personally, I've had all my crops delivered and everything, so then this Turo actually allows us cash flow during the summer months, early to late spring all the way through early fall. So it melds well with the farming operation, and it's not ag centric, right? So it's outside of our, business inside of ag, right? So then I'm actually able to tap in to a lot of metro stuff that's going on. So
let's use the farm term. You are hedging your financial risk.
that it really is a key component of it, right? Because with that hedge, like we hedge on the board all the time, but this is a financial, endeavor that is not involved in farming. And it allows my farming actually allows me to do Turo so that I can move it back and forth. And farming during the summer, maybe we're spraying or things like that, but I actually have more time to do it then as well.
Well, that's what I was going to go back to for a minute when you said the time of year. So if something comes in late April, early May, how do you balance the farming and the side job of things there?
I have the most amazing wife that you can have.
There you go. There's the key.
That's plain and simple the way it is, right? So she actually works, works for Williamsburg Tire locally there, and then she like at night will go and because we know when things are coming in, right? So like when she gets off work at 3 o'clock or whatever, she'll just go and do a couple hours of Turo, maybe getting vehicles ready when we are deep in the heat of planting season or even harvest season, right? So she takes over at that time. I can from the cab, I can manage all the communication. I can manage all the, technical stuff like that, working with customers, but I just can't get the vehicles there. And she definitely picks up the pace there.
It sounds almost like a perfect hedge of sorts in the summer there. But were there some governmental challenges or bills that you have to watch that maybe are good or not good for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think people, when we didn't have, it was like kind of unregulated, right? And then that can make people not feel very safe. Like, is it really a thing to do, right? Oh, let's just do rentals because it's safe, right? So we just had a bill that got signed by the governor, and it just went into regulating everything for us. It actually was good for the consumer or guest because it actually put protections in place for them, right? And it was good for me as a host because now I know what is expected of me. And then Turo, from the platform perspective, they have a regulated workspace, which is really good. And this legislation that was just passed actually has passed in 30 other states. So Iowa became one of the states that actually has a regulated peer-to-peer network, and it works good for everybody involved.
When you say regulated, what does that mean?
So like the way Turo worked, they went into what the bill did for us is it actually like set like, hey, you have to have insurance for the guest, right? You have to, have protections for the guest. You have to have protections for the host for the vehicle, right? If a guest damages it, you actually have to have a platform that will and is sustainable to be able to fix that vehicle, right? And then Turo, and so that's what the protections put in place for everybody involved. That's the way I would look at it.
Do you feel that there are other ways that can assist you governmentally or policy-wise to even make it easier or to protect you further? Or you feel like you're at a good space right now?
I am very happy with the space that we're at currently today, because, it sets that level playing field for everybody that's involved. And, it just is a great space to be in because it allows very nice cash flow during the summer months and stuff. So then we are, it works out really well. And getting the consumer, like, once we have something like that, like the consumer or guest, really is, feels a lot safer.
When I use the service, I guess that's my disclaimer and all this. Yes, I have used it. So when I saw the pitch come through on this, I'm like, oh, I know. Yeah, this is interesting. Pretty sure it was a guy going to school. He was kind of juggling the cars in Hawaii. And so it worked, picked it up. I had to take all my pictures and all those protections. But you make it sound like you've certainly had a little more hands-on direct with customers, and you mentioned a couple that are repeat side of things. How different is this type of work than maybe some of your other side jobs you've done in the past in terms of relationships with people?
Yeah, as far as differentiation, I get to work with all kinds of different people, right? Like I have international guests that come in, and I have just literally people from all over the United States as well. Iowa City and Cedar Rapids tend to make really, really good people, or, grow really good people. So then they tend to go fly out to other places, and so they're always coming home, to visit and things like that. And that's, with that. And also, Cedar Rapids is very, very booming with their business right now, so they are doing a very good job with that. So I actually get like the weekenders that, come in for the families, and then I also get the business people during the week. So it's actually a really good mesh, and just all different personalities that you have with inside of that is so different. It's so differentiation. So
Okay, I haven't looked at your inventory, but you know how there's other side jobs, people in sales with agriculture, and there's the joke of it's the generic white Ford F-150 pickup truck. Do you have one of those in your lot to make everybody feel like they truly are in agriculture?
I do not. I'm very picky about my vehicles. I only have one vehicle that's not red,
Oh.
And the reason for that is there is a difference. So people they kind of gravitate towards that red, and everything. Like all of my vehicles are a maroon / deep red color, because I think it pops on the screen a lot more, and I feel that I get a lot more guests because of that. I've got a silver RAV4 that doesn't get quite the pop as others, and I'm actually actively looking to possibly move that into a red one because it pops a lot more.
Okay, you mentioned earlier you had worked at a dealership and done some technology. Do you still have other off-farm jobs?
Yeah, I've actually got a business, Farm Tech Hive.
Okay,
and
so that's still existence for you. Okay.
Yep, still in existence today. Yep.
So then, do you? I want to be as sensitive as I can to this. Are you happy doing these other side jobs, or would you rather have it all work out that farming would have to be your only thing?
I actually love the fact that I do 3 to 4 different businesses, because one day never repeats another day. Even during planting and harvest, I actually have a trucking business as well, and I help my brother with that. And he drives locally for a manufacturer, and I get in my truck once a week and make a route for him because he's gone to Chicago with another route. So, I actually love that my day-to-day is not the same. And a lot of farmers it isn't, right? A lot of farmers are always doing something different, but yet my truly day to day is not the same, right? I'm in the truck, I'm in, another customer's rig, I'm in a Turo car delivering, or, in the farm going back and forth in the field. So.
And you're not necessarily going door to door to a farmer doing that type of sales, or you're not doing maybe an insurance thing, or those are fine and those are good and those are work, but it just doesn't sound like it's you, Brian.
Yeah, the variety is the spice of life for me. That is 100% the true story. So I like the variation and variety. So I've always in my entire career, now that I've been working out of high school, college for over 30 years, that's sad to say, that dates us, but since
we weren't supposed to say that part out loud, Brian. That's the secret of our age. Yes,
exactly. But doing that has always been the thing. If I've had variety, I've had kind of symmetry to myself. That's just who I am. I don't like doing the exact same thing all the time, and this allows me to be able to do that.
Do you know of any other farmers that might be doing the same thing you're doing, specifically with Turo?
I personally don't know of any. I know of other metro people that are living in Iowa City and Cedar Rapids that do that locally, and things. And when I go to my farm meetings and they kind of ask me what I do, and I'm like, well, I do Turo, and things like that. So people are like, whoa, what's that? And it gets into a whole nother discussion. They're like, geez, that's quite unique. That's nice. And I think a lot of people are like, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense, so.
You're going to have to ask for, if you can get a referral business for somebody that's outside of another metro area, you might be able to you're going to be incorporated and they're all going to work for you. But this is my Fargo office, or this is my St. Louis office here. This could be a possibility for you, Brian.
We actually do inside of Turo have like where we could host other guests and other vehicles. So like from another, like maybe they have 2 or 3 vehicles themselves and they want to get into something like that. No, we could definitely co-host is what they call that. So yeah.
Well, I didn't plan to ask this, but it did cross my mind as I was thinking about you this weekend. Do you, with your opportunity to interact with other people and different who aren't not necessarily on the farm, they find out that you're a farmer. Is this an outreach opportunity for you as well to answer questions about agriculture for someone who might not be as familiar?
Yeah, it's surprising how much I actually come back to the farm and they're like, what do you do normally? I'm like, well, I do this full time, but I also farm, and that gets into a whole nother conversation a lot of times, so people are like, oh yeah, what's it about? What's it like? And things like that. So it actually gets into more conversation and things like that. And obviously I have the gift of gab, so it doesn't ever have a problem going there. So.
Guilty. Brian, you also have a board position for the Iowa Soybean Association. I would imagine that could come up as well. What are the topics that guests are asking you about right now?
A lot of guests are asking about like how stable is farming, like what's it really going to be like in 5 years, and they're genuinely concerned with the people I see or the guests that I interact with are genuinely concerned about the healthiness of farmers, themselves, not necessarily ag, but farmers, and that's a big differentiation in the way I would go about things. And that's what they're concerned about. So.
The physical and mental health of everyone, or
and financial stability too, right? Because we hear about like how prices are, suppressed or depressed at certain times other than others. But they're genuinely concerned. They want a healthy agriculture or healthy set of farmers because they know where their food does really ultimately come from.
And they can say they actually knew a farmer or they rented a farmer and. Now you're just going to have like a store where you sell some of your goods right there in the front window. Is that the next level of business, Brian?
Yeah.
What is the takeaway from someone that does want to know about what it is you do in agriculture?
I would guess like the takeaway, as far as from our guests or any of the other ventures that I have is just the variation or like being creative and doing something with what you have. Like not everybody's going to be able to farm 100% as a farmer. That's quite evident. A lot of farmers are pretty innovative. I think it's one of the most innovative I apologize. Can you hear that rain?
Hey, is that rain that I hear? That's awesome. Right on cue.
But yeah, anyway, but being innovative with farming and allowing, I really look at myself as an entrepreneur inside of agriculture, right? And so that's really how I like it. So.
Well, and I didn't ask you at the beginning. I mean, I asked if you're on the home place, but what was the path to get to be at the home place? I mean, the conversation, you and I, again, back to the same age, it's in the 80s, when we're in that formative, what are we going to do? Was the conversation, Brian, sorry, there's just nothing for you in this current setup. You're going to have to come up with something else.
Yeah. So I am a 5th generation farmer, but yet like I'm not part of a big farming operation, right? My predecessors, like I have so much respect for them because my grandfather came through the 80s with a paid-for farm, and that's not an easy task. A lot of farms did not come through the 80s with a paid-for farm. So I have so much respect for what that is. But, I've kind of had to build it up. I put my own hog finishing facility on it. I'm actually currently in the process of building some bins on my farm, and building it up, and, I've been creative and, just trying to nickel and dime my way into prosperity and really finally, I think, in my personal opinion, finally hitting some nice strides. So.
And you're doing it in a whole lot of ways.
Very much so.
Lastly, I'll just ask, again, another agriculture question here. How do you feel about, we talked about that financial and the physical health, but how do you feel about the financial side of things right now, given and you need to put it all together here because you are at Soybean Association meetings, you hear different briefings than the average farmer does. You also can see what the Board of Trade does. You can see what exports are or are not and what issues are there. How you feeling right now as we sit here in the middle of 2026?
Yeah, I'm feeling optimistic because I think we have a lot of abilities. For us to be hardly selling anything to China, very little, and we still have over $11 beans, that's actually very respectful. That means like we domestically have kind of picked up the pace for demand and for soybeans specifically, but then also with other products that we have in this. But for me personally, I'm very optimistic because I have a lot of different ways to become profitable, be profitable for the year, and I'm very, very tight on land costs for me. So land costs are a big deal for everybody involved in farming, and I just don't have high cash rents, and I'm trying to build it up from the bottom up. So I'm optimistic, very optimistic for myself.
Which vehicle are you in right now?
I'm in my Hyundai Palisade currently.
So is that going to get an extra set of advertising as seen on the MTOM podcast?
It certainly will. Yes, right on the add-on onto the Turo platform there. So yeah.
Brian, thank you so very much for the time. I appreciate it and the insight and finding out another side hustle is everybody's thinking outside the box. I love it. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
We are produced at Iowa PBS. Our production supervisor is Sean Ingracia. His crew is Reed Denker, Kevin Rivers, Julie Knudsen, Neil Kyer, and David Feingold. The executive producer of Market to Market is David Miller. I'm Paul Yeager. We'll see you next time.